Joining me live in the studio now is the former Deputy Prime Minister and Coalition frontbencher Barnaby Joyce. Let's get to that breaking news about the inflation number, the monthly inflation data. Some economists we've been speaking to, including on air Professor Stephen Hamilton, saying that the RBA should have moved this month and probably should do next month in terms of hiking rates, not cutting them.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of people out there, Kieran, who have made decisions because of the warrant, the recommendation that the federal government gave. They're going, don't worry, rates are going down, just see what's going to happen by Christmas. They've put places on the market, they've probably borrowed money. They've borrowed money now.
They really haven't said that. They haven't said rates are going down.
Well, they said that their $300 handing your money back was going to have take the CPI down. The CPI, Kieran, has gone up, not down. And so right at the outset, we're heading in the wrong direction. And they've made the Glenn Stevens mistake. They've started making predictions, which really, unless they're Nostradamus, an economic Nostradamus, they shouldn't have made. They should have declared a wish, but never made a prediction.
In political terms, if the RBA were to move the month after
would not be good.
The budget, that would be interesting timing. I
mean, this budget has all the pizzazz of a colander on the high seas. I mean, it's just sunk out of sight, and it's the best impression of a future AUKUS submarine. There it goes, and will never be seen again. Now, what they have done is they've buried the budget because it just didn't fly. It really didn't. And they had more to say about what Peter Dutton had to say than they had to say about what they said. And that's usually a pretty bad sign that things aren't working out for them. And the CPI is going to continue to go up while they have this pathological cultish attachment to such things as their renewables target, which underpins the inflated power prices. And of course, power is in everything, Kieran.
But people are,
everything.
As you would know, in New England, in your seat and around the country, people are hurting now. Are we seeing this problem of a two-track economy where there's a whole chunk of people who actually aren't touched by the higher rates, but there are a hell of a lot of people that are getting bashed?
Well, who gets hurt? Those who have high reliance on power, so that's usually trades, any form of manufacturing, pensioners, people who are poor because they get absolutely smashed at the checkout for their food. Anyone who's renting, I mean, we've got rentals in little towns, little villages outside Tamworth, up in the hills, over $300 a week. I mean, people end up in these places because they've rolled down the economic and social stratification of life and ended up in small towns, no sewerage, no police, no hospital, and yet even there, rents over $300 a week.
You touched on the energy issue. I just want to mention this. Yesterday, Chris Bowen had a crack at you and others in the coalition for discrediting or trying to discredit the CSIRO. Is that what you did last week?
Oh, no, I've just said the bleeding obvious. How can you have, of the 20 largest countries in the OECD, all of them involved in nuclear except Australia? I mean, because we've got a report. I'll tell you what, I'll challenge Mr. Bowen. If he stands behind that report that says that there is no market chance of nuclear being coming on, well, why, Kieran, do you need the prohibitions at a federal and state level? What's the point of them?
He said that he referenced that quote you said on the ABC that getting the CSIRO to do this is like getting Mongolia to write a report on tropical rainforests.
Well, but we don't have nuclear power, but we do.
But we've got good scientists.
But we don't have nuclear power. We do have a nuclear reactor. It's bang smack in the middle of Sydney, but we don't have nuclear power. So why don't you talk to the CEOs of Rolls-Royce, Westinghouse, Hyundai, Skoda, General Electric, Ontario Coal, myriad of Chinese companies, United States companies, Argentinian, Brazilian, Indonesian, Korean, who are all building nuclear plants. Why don't you talk to the United Arab Emirates where they built 3 already online within 8 years, or the Japanese and the Koreans who can build them in 3 years? Why don't you go get a report from them? Because they actually do build them.
What's your reaction or what's your response to the criticism of this policy as being a fake policy that's really just trying to cover up your opposition to renewable energy?
Well, let's have a look at some of the things in renewable energy. You'd be interested in this. In the Northern Tablelands, But
is it just a fig leaf to cover that?
No, of course not, because if I've got a choice, I'll put it in Sydney parlance. Because they would say, do you want a nuclear reactor in New England? Yes, I do. Yep, put it on my core flute. I want one in New England, right? But do you want a swindle factory in Sydney? Maybe we can stick up a couple of wind towers on Middle Head or North Head. Maybe a few transmission lines just over Bondi Beach from the swindle factory, your wind farm just off the beach there. Do you think they want that? No. So why do we want it? Why are you dumping this future obsolete rubbish for landfill in our electorate? We don't want it. And it doesn't work. It swindles because we had former Nigerian, in this my era, former Nigerian billionaires. Do you think they've got they're really worried about the birds and the flowers and the environment of New England? Or do they think these Aussies are mugs? They're absolute mugs. So, mate, you know what happens when a mug turns up? You reach into their wallet and rip out all the money and giggle as you walk out the door. That's what's happening to us.